There are risks and costs to action, but they are far less than the long-range risks of comfortable inaction.
This is SPRH Podcast, where business experts help you to take massive action. With your hosts, corporate and keynote speakers Matt Ward and Dan Candell. Change your business, change your life, and start now.
Hi, and welcome to the SPRH Podcast. I'm Dan Candell here with Matt Ward and our special guest today. Matt, you know, it takes a really special person to screw up and then to admit that they screwed up and then to make something out of that screw up. Now, our guest today, he's not a screw up. Our guest today, he is a success in spite of all the mishaps that have happened to him. And I can tell you, Matt, I have made so many mistakes in business, I could probably write a book about it. And I think many of us have, but it takes a very unique mindset, a very unique personality to take those and make them strengths. And today's guest is also a superpower realtor in Dallas, doing all the right things that realtors should do in order to elevate their business. So our guest today that we're going to take massive action with is Chris Bentley. Welcome, Chris.
Hey, thank you for having me on the show. I'm pumped.
Thanks for joining us, Chris. As you know, we help small business owners take massive action. Can you share with our listening audience what massive action you've taken and what the results of that massive action were?
I've done a lot of different stuff. Here recently, what I've been doing a lot of is just going out and doing a lot more social media stuff. Before, I just kind of like post once a day. Now I'm doing more podcasts, more video. I'm trying to bump it up to 2 or 3 posts a day. And that's really kind of like brought me into a lot more of just people seeing me more often. I used to run Facebook ads and that ran pretty well. And everybody's like, oh yeah, I know that guy from somewhere. And I run into him in like the grocery store and they're like, I've seen you somewhere. So it's kind of cool. It's a good like way to open up a conversation.
I love that. It's like setting the expectation. It positions you almost like, you look so familiar and where do I know you from? And then it opens up a conversation. Oh, well, maybe you've seen me on Facebook. And
you know what I love, Dan? Somebody said that to me recently. They're like,
they said you look like me?
Before? Have I met you before? Is your name Dan Candell? No, they didn't say that. They said, have I met you before? And I said, I don't know. Perhaps you saw me on the back cover of my book. Oh, no. Oh, then perhaps you saw me speak somewhere. No? Oh, did you see my podcast videos? No. So you have all this stuff to say, hey, did you see me here and here and here and here?
It's all about positioning.
Yeah, it's massive action right there.
Yeah, I actually go a step further. I actually like shake their hand or hug them. So I'll be like, oh my, if it's a woman, obviously I'd hug them, but shake a hand if it's a guy. But, you know, it would just be like, hey, like, I think I've seen you somewhere. And I'd be like, yeah, you know, like you probably caught something on Facebook, like a video, or you maybe heard a podcast or saw something in like D Magazine. And they're like, yeah, just so exactly what you're saying. But then I'll just take it a step further and be like, oh my God, we're like best friends. Like, what's up? And they're like, yeah. And it's just different. So now it's just not awkward. It's just like, oh yeah, we are friends because we got like some going on. So it's kind of cool.
I saw Matt in a grocery store one time and he wouldn't hug me either. He wouldn't hug me either. It's okay. I went in for the hug. And he goes, talk to the fist because the face is pissed, Dan. And he just kind of did the hand thing.
And first of all, it's completely unfounded. I don't even think you would see me in a grocery store. First of all, you'd be in the soup and salad section, right? And I wouldn't be there. By the way, I heard the other day, I don't remember where I saw this. I think it was a speaker who said the difference between, what was it, weeds and salad is timing. So I just avoid the timing altogether. I let it all go to weeds, right? Because who needs that?
You let it rock.
But yeah, I think familiarity is a huge thing, right? And also, too, I think it plays into failure. So even though we as small business owners will fail from time to time, we'll stumble, we'll fall, familiarity helps with that, I think. Can you talk a little bit about how people being familiar with you when you stumble help you kind of come back?
Yeah, for me, a lot of times, and I was actually talking about this with some other people, in my like darkest days of being broke and, declaring bankruptcy and like had nothing and, living back with my mom or like almost moving into my car, like I would tell people about, the struggle. I mean, like, hey, look, like, I can't go out and do that, or I can't attend that function, or it's like $10 at the door for somebody's birthday charity deal. And I mean, like, I can't really afford that right now. Like all my money's going towards Facebook ads, or like, lucky I'm eating like eggs and bacon every meal for the past 2 weeks. And a lot of people just like extend out to try to help in terms of not monetarily, but like, hey, like, I think I know somebody that's looking to sell their house, or like, hey, like, I think that I have this platform that you can go on and like try to do something on that way, or like if they're an influencer, they'll be like, I'll give you a shout, So there's a lot of people that are willing to help, that have been in that situation and know it, and it's just a matter of just asking for help. And I think that a lot of people really, really struggle with that.
So Chris, were people surprised when they'd like see you online, or they'd see you in a Facebook ad or something like that, and then in the struggle days they realized you were struggling? Were people surprised by that? Because it seemed like you were such a personality, and then to see the guy behind the videos, it's almost like this isn't the same guy I'm seeing online. Yeah,
it's really weird, and I get that a lot. I am a really basic binary dude. Like I'm wearing a hoodie now and like some jeans and some boots, and it's raining.
But that's not a Snuggie?
And like I'll go out and they'll be like, wow, like you're not wearing like full on, custom suit with custom shoes, and like, you're not like giving it to me. And I'm like, sorry, this isn't like, $1 million listing LA where people follow me around all day. Like it's just, I am who I am. So I'm pretty basic. And when people kind of realize that, like we were talking about the person meeting me for the first time, they're like, wow, like he's actually like a human being, and like, he wants coffee in the morning. And I think a lot of people really forget that. And then when I tell them like, hey, look, like, I'm kind of struggling right now, they're like, well, it looks like you're really successful online. I'm like, well, like I've kind of hit a tough patch. And most people relate. I mean, as long as you're like upfront about it and not being like, oh yeah, I'm just closing like 50 million tomorrow, like it just, I believe a lot in like honesty and being upfront and just like, being real.
You mentioned bankruptcy previously. How did you come back from that? Because I'd love to ask the question like from the brink of bankruptcy, but it sounds like you actually went through bankruptcy.
Yeah, there was 2 different times, and actually it's 3, because what I do is I have big eyes and I go like balls to the wall. So like I'll have an idea, like I kind of have one now about something, and like I'll just go all in. And because I've actually tasted bankruptcy and I tasted like moving back home, like I know what it tastes like, and it tastes terrible. So I just know it, and I'm like, okay, well, like if I survive that, then like I know what it is, but I got to pull back just enough that I know that I can't go too far. So the bankruptcy, the official bankruptcy, was the bubble burst in 2008. I was holding on to multiple properties that people were renting from me, and the renters couldn't, they got laid off. There was no jobs. Nobody was lending any money. So A, I didn't have a job. I couldn't sell any houses, and nobody was buying any houses. And then 2, the people were in my house or, laid off and weren't paying rent. So I didn't want really bad credit. So I ended up paying, so that that pushed me back even further. So now I have like no savings, and now I'm living with my mom, and all these people are living at my house. So I had to do that and take care of that. And then on the backside, like, how did I do it? It was terrible. Nobody was hiring, like I said. So I got a job being a busboy at a sushi restaurant, and I knew the manager. And at night, I would fill up the ketchup bottles for $5. People, like the waiters and waitresses, would be like, hey, would you fill up my bottles? And I'd be like, yeah, how much you gonna pay me? And they'd be like $5. I'd be like, done. And like I would sit there and do that. And like, if I'm sitting here telling you guys this, and like, in the longest bull run ever in the market, and you guys are probably like, oh my god, like $5 to fill up ketchup bottles, like you're nuts. But like back then, it was tough. Like there was no money, and I was just glad to get $5. So yeah,
Chris, was that $5 a bottle?
No, that was like $5 for like all the bottles in the whole restaurant.
See what I'm hearing, Matt's like dumbfounded now, but here's what I'm hearing. You took action, and you did what you had to do, and now you can talk about it as if this is what happened. And And yeah, of course, there are times where we all go through these hard times. I was just talking to Matt today. I'm like, I got to get my ass in gear about some things and get more motivated about stuff. But to have in mind, if you're putting in the work, and this is a big if you're putting in the work and you're doing what you need to do, this is only temporary. And once you put in the work, you get your nose to the grind, you start doing the stuff you need to do to be that person that you're like, I know I can be 10 times more successful than this. You do what you need to do, and it's going to elevate you. And that action is going to breed results. That's one thing. The other is, have you ever heard of the hardcore closer, Ryan Stewman? Yeah, okay.
He actually lives here in Dallas.
Oh, yes, that's right. He does. So for those of you who don't know, go check out the hardcorecloser.com. And he talks about how he was like hookers and blow. That was his like lowest of low. He was in jail, and you read his book, but he did work to get out of that slump. And now he's living the hustle. And that's what you have to do. You have to hustle and put your nose to the grind. And Matt, I've said this before. People who are other hypnotists, and they say, oh, we want what Dan Candel has. My business coach makes a joke. She said, well, if you walk behind him, you realize he doesn't have an ass because he's worked it off. So you have to do what he does. You have to work your ass off if you want to be like him. And even looking at your website, Chris, there are things that you're doing that puts you in the top 1 or 2% that most realtors aren't doing.
Right. Well, I was going to just kind of add to my story on the flip side of that, and I just kind of forgot about it. It was that during that time, there was actually like the dip up, and that dip up was refis, because the market was actually rebounding, and all the lenders were like charging like 4% to refinance their homes. So I was doing refis, and I was making calls I think I started my calls at 8 a.m., but I didn't get out of the actual restaurant until late because they had like a after hours like kind of party deal where the bar stayed open and people would party. And that was cool. That brought me in extra money. But at the end of the night, like I would go home and I would sleep maybe like 3, 4, or 5 hours and wake up and start calling people at 8 a.m. about leads and stuff like that to refinance them. And then I'd get showered, go eat some food, and then I'd head out to the office to go submit the apps, do everything, and then I'd come back home, change, and then go back to work and work at the restaurant all night. And like I did that for a solid year. And it was like there was no hanging out, there was no partying, there was no nothing. Like that's all I did.
Matt, what's your motto? Is it work hard, party harder? Like that's what you got to do, right? That's what you got to do.
I guess. I mean, look, I'm in business in business for myself because I want freedom. You know, certainly I need money to live off of, but that is not my motivating factor. In fact, we had this conversation, Dan, probably a week or so ago, that I've eliminated a service from my offerings because it was blocking up my calendar. Like it had nothing to do with the money. Yep. Had everything to do with the fact that I would open up my calendar and there would be a meeting with a client. And I was just like, you know what? This isn't how I want to run my business. I want more freedom. And so I created a service that allowed me to have a freedom for 1/10 of the price, you know? But I think that's something that we have to kind of figure out too, is that, you know, what Chris is talking about is sort of the clawback effect, right?
Right.
And I have a similar story that I've never shared with anybody on the podcast that's somewhat similar to, I was never in real estate like Chris was, but in 1997, I sold my car on the street of Washington, D.C., and I started all over in Massachusetts. And it was disastrous, but that clawback effect, the ability to rebound and put your nose to the grind and figure out what you got to do, whether it's the $5 ketchup bottles or bar backing or taking third shift in a mailroom like I did. I was working for FedEx, you know, part-time. I was driving package courier around and delivering late luggage and all these different things to just try and make things work. So I respect the ability to rebound. And I think that small business owners need to find ways to find that energy, to reach not for the high bar, but just for the next one, just the next step, which is only 6 to 8 inches higher. The problem is all the time we want to reach for these big goals, these big objectives, these big product launches, these big books we want to write, or whatever it is, this big thing, service launch in our industry. And, you know, like I want to book 80 keynotes tomorrow, but that's not going to happen. I need to start with 1 and 2 and 3 and just build off of that. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Go ahead. Sorry.
You know what the difference is, though, between gold medal, silver medal, and bronze? A fraction of a fraction of a second. A fraction of a fraction of a second. And sometimes what can lead you to that fraction of a second is spending 4 more minutes a day at the gym than everybody else does. It can be powering through your mindset. It's little things that add up to a lot.
It is eating 1 additional slice of a Big Mac pizza.
You're so right. That's what I've been doing wrong all this time. Chris, we're going to fly to Dallas and we're going to bring with us.
No, it won't. First of all, it won't get through TSA. I mean, actually, it's pizza. It's not liquid, so it probably would. But that would have to be your carry-on.
I have no problem with that.
You know what we could do is, because Chris has done some podcasting himself, we could have a podcast meetup with Larry Roberts in Dallas and bring a Big Mac pizza for him too.
And the hardcore closer, we got to get him involved in this. We should bombard him. And
Donnie Bovine's down there too.
Johnny Bovine, all these people. See, Matt likes to name drop, Chris. So you'll be one. You'll be
references to people you know. What do you mean? That's not name dropping.
It's name dropping. Shut up, Matt. It's name dropping. Chris, it's okay. You'll be one of the people that we name drop in a future episode. So
I love it.
in 2 episodes, we'll reference. You know, we were talking to Chris Bentley 2 episodes ago and talking about this.
Love it.
In the speaking world, they're referred to as callbacks because they're reminders. But Dan's not used to getting called back for anything, so.
Wow. You just went there. I'm not going to be mean. You know what? I'm going to spread love and I'm going to spread light and no, I'm not. Chris, hey, how do you set yourself apart though from some of the other realtors that just keep struggling or they're doing it like really, really part-time? And I'm sure you see people like in every industry, they're just complaining about how they don't have. What are some of the actions you're taking that you notice other people aren't?
Patience. And it was kind of a prelude to what we were talking about before. Like, so I went home my home is DC. I went home and I was looking through some paperwork and I was in financial services as soon as I got out of college. And I was looking at a spreadsheet that I created, and every month I was making money. It was like $200, $100, $400. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I quit. And it was probably because there were some other people in the office making way more money than I was. And I was like, oh, this is BS. Like, I want to make their kind of money. And I just kind of sat there and thought about it. And I was like, you know what? Like, I was on the right path. Like, I was doing it. I was making money. It'd be different if nobody was paying me any money, but I was making money. And I was like, man, like if I had only just stuck with it, like where would I be at now, like 10 years later? And it kind of like bothered me. And I was like, you know what, like how many other people are in the same way where they'll do a couple of leases here or there, or they'll sell a house here or there, or, you know, get somebody into a home. And then they'll just be like, oh, well, Chris made this much this month, or, you know, Chris sold that many houses this year, or so-and-so down the street in D Magazine did 25 million. Like, you know, people just compare themselves, and when you really look at it, it's like if you had just waited, I'd probably been way further along than I am now with where I'm at, you know. So it's just, I think really patience is really key, and I think a lot of people overlook just the position that they're in. I mean, they're getting paid, like just keep doing what you're doing, just do more of it. That's all.
And it's all perspective. What's a lot of money for some people is not a lot of money for others. What are a lot of deals for some people aren't a lot for others. And I told someone the other day, I said, you know, I see like 6 people a day in my office. And they said, I could never do that. Like I could never see 6 people a day. And I said, well, you need to raise your standards then. But, you know, people ask me what I charge, and I tell them what I charge. Other people in my profession, they ask what I charge. And some of them say, how do you charge so much? It's because those are my standards, and those are the clients that I attract. I attract clients who are going to pay $600 an hour. I don't attract clients who are going to pay $50 an hour. And $50 an hour, it's not going to pay my mortgage. It's not going to pay my office rent. It's not going to feed my cat that's sitting on my shoulder right now. That keeps licking my hair because apparently she's hungry. So, I think it's all perspective. And it goes back to what we originally started talking about when we started this conversation. It goes back to the perspective that people have of you online, and they're seeing you online. They're like, wow, you're super successful, and I'm seeing you out. And I'll remember I was in a Chipotle getting lunch, and there was a guy who had seen one of my hypnosis shows several months prior to that. And he saw me at the soda machine, and he goes, excuse me, can I ask you a question? I goes, yeah, sure. Go ahead. He said, are you Dan Candel, the hypnotist? I said, yeah. He's like, oh, your shows, like, they really inspire me. I've seen a bunch of your shows. He goes, can I ask you another question? I said, yeah, you're on a roll. He goes, what the F are you doing here at Chipotle? And I'm like, eating? I love Chipotle. Yeah. He's like, don't you have minions doing this for you? Or don't you go to someplace better than Chipotle? I'm like, dude, I eat and sleep just like you do.
Yeah, so sometimes, crazy.
Yeah, people have these different perceptions of what we should be or how we should be, and they don't realize, we're people just like everybody else.
Matt, even somebody. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Matt, even you're a person just like everybody else.
I preferred what Chris was going to say instead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I met somebody. It was just a funny story. Like, I met somebody, and they're like, oh, my God, like, I really wanted to meet you. Like, I've seen you, on Facebook. I watched a lot of your videos. And I was like, oh, hey, how are you? Like, I know who you are on Facebook. I'm glad we finally met. I gave her a hug. And I was like, hey, like, do you know if they're still serving coffee here? And she, like, her face went from, like, really, really excited to just, like, and like all the air just went out of her, and I was like, well, like, I need to have some coffee, it's in the morning. And it was just like I totally ruined the moment for her, and I felt like somebody going to go watch a band that they loved to death, and then they actually like see them live, and they're like, oh, these guys suck. So it was just not one of my fantastic moments, but I always remember that emotion.
Apparently rock stars don't drink coffee. That's kind of what you're saying, is that her impression is that you were all of a sudden a normal guy when she.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like all the air was just let out of her. She was just like, oh, he's just like a normal guy that likes coffee in the morning like me. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, I don't know.
So, Chris, how do our square peg round holers get in touch with you and to learn more about you and see what you offer?
A couple of different ways. I'm all over social media. So Facebook, Chris D. Bentley, and my website is chrisd.bentley.com. But yeah, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. If you guys have any questions about anything or want to get in contact with me, those are the best ways. I love answering questions. So if you got stuff, let me know. And whether it be a fellow realtor or just somebody that's struggling now, or somebody that's just, an entrepreneur. Like I have 2 other businesses that I'm running, maybe a third one if I continue on this one that I'm looking at. But yeah, that's the easiest way. And like I said, I'm pretty open. I'm more than happy to answer any questions or anything.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for providing some value to our listeners. We greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. If any of the listeners like to pick up any of my books that I've written on Amazon, feel free to reach out to me. They are free just for listening to the show. And I'll make sure that they like you guys as well on Facebook.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And to our square peg round holders, make sure you reach out to Chris D. Bentley and go and get his books as well. Send him a message and hang with Chris. He's a great, fun guy. Hey, Matt, what's your Yahoo moment?
Damn, my Yahoo moment today with Chris D. Bentley, D like danger, as he says, is patience. You got to be patient with some of these things that you're doing. If you have some stumbles, you have some falls. I think we heard that with Mihail, the fail coach, a while back. It's just like, you can come back from these failures, but you got to have patience and know that you can do it. Belief in yourself and patience are the key on that. What about you, buddy?
A spin on that, Matt, is resiliency. You got to have the ability to bounce back when things get you down. And that bounce back is so important. Just remember that what you're confronting, what you're facing now is only temporary. And if you're putting action into getting out of that slump or out of that rut, then that rut is only temporary.
That's right. So speaking of being temporary, this podcast is temporary. It comes out this week, and so does another one next week, and another one the week before, and the week after. That's what the SPRH podcast is all about. So make sure you subscribe on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review, because those are the only ones that actually work. And check us out at sprhpodcast.com, where you can see our Sales Summit 6 great video interviews, conversations.
Yes. Conversations with sales pros to help you boost your sales performance. So make sure you go check that out. Sorry to steal that one from you, Matt, but I had that in my head. I had it in my head. Jason Derulo? No? Okay. Anyway, hey people, square peg round holders, be well, do good, be true to who you are. And you try and steal that tagline, I'll be coming for you.
You just listened to the SPRH podcast with Matt Ward and Dan Candell, where you learn from the pros how to take massive action. Remember, have yourself an action-oriented day.